Hey there, Yurii here, and welcome to the Community ROI podcast. Here, senior community experts, founders, and C-level managers tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about how a community impacts business growth. By listening to these conversations, you'll get actionable steps on how to connect community goals with business goals to skyrocket business growth while still bringing extreme value to community members. And my guest is Pat Cooney, a community engineer with over 20 years of experience. Even though Pat told me that a little bit less of professional title, still a huge amount of experience in leadership and team management, web analytics and development, and training and e-commerce and digital communications for the corporate, nonprofit, NGO, and political sectors. Also, Pat is a musician, Canadian. Please correct me if I should put Canadian first. An amazing human being and a great friend of mine. So welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Yurii. And thank you for reading my LinkedIn profile out to everybody.
I tried to do my best, so when people will meet you, when they want to connect with you, they will see like it's exactly as you wrote it. So, oh yeah, it's exactly that, Pat. So, everything is good. So we are not missing anyone up. So yeah, let's cut the whole truth and let's go to the real point of community ROI. So what's your definition of a community goal?
Oh boy, a community goal. I mean, I feel like a community goal can almost be anything that has sort of a defined beginning and end. So if you've got something that you can measure and know that you've gotten to the end of whatever that thing is, then that can be called a goal. That can be increasing membership. It can be increasing engagement. It can be focusing engagement. It can be launching a newsletter. It can be setting up events, event attendance numbers. All of those things can, in my definition, be goals because they all have measurable endings.
Okay. So what is one goal of the community that you are working with at the moment or worked before that inspires you the most?
I think right now, it's trying to increase engagement within my organization. I mean, we all want to increase engagement amongst our membership, and in the community that I'm currently running, it's a community for our customers. We're a SaaS company, so the community is built for our customers. And certainly they're my top priority. But in terms of a goal that I'm finding particularly interesting, and that's one adjective that we can use. I'm sure I can come up with other adjectives, but that's focusing on the engagement amongst the staff here at the organization in the community as well, because that ultimately is going to support and hopefully improve the engagement with our customers, that being the most valuable members. But if none of our staff is in the community engaging with those folks, as a community built for our customers, it's not going to be as valuable to them if they don't have access to the people that actually work here and know the product the best and can, take new ideas and, maybe roll that into, growth within the product and that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm interested and focused on just continuing to increase interest and engagement within my organization, within our community.
I've once heard a phrase that someone told that as a community builder, you're only one person as a community who is paid to be engaged inside. And how do you deal with that? How do you ensure that other people from your organization are engaged with the community without adding extra work to their plates?
I don't think there's any way that we can do this without adding extra work to their plates. But what I think we need to do is we need to help them understand that this extra work kind of isn't extra work. I mean, yeah, okay, it's extra work in that I've been asked to write this post, or I've been asked to go in and engage on this question or something like that. And maybe that's not part of their job description. That's not something that they were planning on doing that day when they came into the office. So yeah, technically it's extra work, but I think if you can reach out to them in a way that allows them to understand that the work that they're going to be doing in the community is going to make their jobs easier, is going to benefit their jobs, their job description, then it's no more extra work at that point than it is answering emails or those other things that don't really fall directly under your job description, but are things that are just sort of part of what your job is, I guess. The other thing is that when I really sit down and sort of think about doing this type of work of trying to get the people here excited and wanted to engage, it starts to feel to me like an exercise in manipulation a little bit. And I'm not sure how else to explain it or think about it in a different way, because really, like, a lot of the work that I'm doing to try and get these people excited and trying to get them to see the benefits to them of being engaged in the community honestly really feels like an exercise in manipulation. First, I need to understand what their job is here in the organization. Once I understand what their job is, then I need to understand what are some of the challenges that they have in that. Once I understand what those challenges are, then I need to look at, okay, can any of those challenges be helped by getting them to be engaged in the community? And if I can find a challenge that I feel could be helped by community engagement, then I start putting together essentially a propaganda campaign to show them, to explain to them why engagement in the community might be beneficial to meeting a specific challenge within their work. And in addition to that, you need to get to understand the person that you're talking to, because every one of these campaigns that I'm doing needs to be uniquely tailored to that person. Everybody is different. And we all know this as community builders, right? This is like community building 101 to a certain extent. Everybody needs to be approached in a specific way. Everybody needs to be talked to in a specific way. Everybody needs to be convinced in a certain way, right? The way that I approach one person can be something as easy as just, casually walking up to their desk and saying, "Hey, I'd love it for you to just, hop in and do this thing. I think it would be really cool. And I think it's probably going to help you with, this feature rollout that you've got next week. And maybe that's all I need to do." And they're like, "Oh yeah, cool. No problem." Another person, maybe I need to actually put together a, slide deck and book a half hour of their time and sit them down and do a formal presentation, and maybe even provide, some analytics or research, because they need that extra level of convincing. Some people you need to become friends with before you even start this conversation. You need to develop a personal relationship so that you're not just some person in the office, but you're actually somebody that they now have an emotional connection with.
I feel like
every flavor is different.
It's never just external community. It's always like works both ways, and you always have to build relationships with everyone. And the moment you told the word manipulation, I immediately thought about, have you ever blackmailed anyone? But let's take it away of this.
No, I've never had to go down that road, thankfully. Okay. But it does. But I mean, this this idea of manipulation in my brain, comes down to knowing the fact that I'm tailoring my approach to every single one of these people to that specific person. And I think maybe that's the important takeaway for anybody who's following along here, is that it's not a one size fits all. It's not something that you can essentially boilerplate and just say, okay, here is the one play that you need to do to get engagement across your team. It's individual, and you need to learn about those people and learn about the jobs that they do before you even start to think about how you can start asking them to be engaged in the community.
Why do you need those people being engaged, like your team members being engaged in the community? I mean, like, how does it align with business goals?
Well, they're the experts on the product. And since we are a community for our customers and meant to be a place where our customers can go and learn about how they can use our product better, learn about or inspire new ideas on how they can use the product within their business. I need those people in there because they're going to be the ones potentially planting those seeds and answering those questions if somebody is trying to, figure out how to get a new feature to work the way that they want. And it's a significantly more personal relationship than them just those customers just logging a support ticket, right? And allows for a different type of conversation. But those conversations and that relationship building that is happening between our staff and our customers in the community, because it's more personal, unlike, say, logging a support ticket, in terms of rolling that now into a business objective or something that has business value, my argument would be, like, really any play within a customer support type or customer success type area, this is how you really get inroads with your relationship with that customer, and they don't churn, they potentially expand, they purchase more licenses, they do more things, and that's now revenue generating. And even if it's just doing something like avoiding churn, maybe that's not revenue generating, but it's certainly avoiding revenue loss, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if those customers feel like they've got a personal relationship now with us, again, less likely to churn, more likely to expand, more likely to reach out when they have a question. Hey, we've got this issue that we're trying to solve. Is there any way that your product can help us out? Oh, that's a great question. And you know what? I was talking last week to this other customer and they're doing a similar kind of thing. Let's sit down together and we'll figure it out. And then all of a sudden they buy 100 more licenses, and awesome. And that's community, or at least our community, fitting into the larger customer success role within the organization.
Do you have specific guidelines for your colleagues on how exactly they should act in the community?
Nothing that is really beyond what we would ask any of our members, whether they're staff or customers. Don't use bad words, don't be a jerk, don't call people names, that type of stuff. I think any of the communication that our staff has with our customers, regardless of whether it's through the community or through a phone call or meeting them at a conference or something like that, we don't want to be talking about features that haven't been released yet, or spending a lot of time, talking about some bug that maybe we're embarrassed about or something, or, some feature that the competition maybe has that we don't, like that type of stuff. But that's not anything that we've set up specifically in terms of how you need to behave in the community. That's, I think, just sort of general how to behave as an employee of the company.
And talking about bugs, I feel like it's really better when you have this conversation inside in the community that out there on Reddit or anywhere, etc., out there in the world. So I bet you still have those conversations sometimes. So I'm curious, how do you deal with them?
We've been fortunate so far that I think any of the conversations around major bugs, that we would want to make sure that we have control over that conversation. And that's the advantage of obviously having that conversation within the community, a space that we control, rather than on Reddit or some other place, which is in a space that we don't control. We've been very fortunate to be in a situation where those conversations seem to happen more directly between the customer and the account team. So it's a phone call. It comes up in one of their, regular cadence meetings, or even gets logged through support. It doesn't seem to hit community. I don't know if that's because with those major customers, we launched the community after they were already customers and already had those established lines of communication. So they're not seeing community as the place where they need to have those conversations. but it's not happening there. And I'm kind of okay with that because I don't really want to have to deal with the politics around something like that. There have been a couple times in which customers have asked questions, oh, how do I do this? And it's exposed maybe a bug or something. In those situations, we will very quickly go into that thread, let them know, oh, yes, we have noticed this issue. It seems to be that there's, uh, a bug or something along those lines. We'll reach out to you directly. We'll let them know, like, we're gonna contact you directly. We'll stop this conversation in this thread. And what I'll make sure to do, instead of leaving those, because I hate those threads. As somebody who's a former developer, you'll be looking for an answer, and you'll hit a thread where like other people have found the same problem, and you're reading down through the thread, and the developer, or software company or something like recognize, oh yeah, we've got an issue, but then the thread ends and there's no resolution, right? So I always want to make sure that in those situations, I'll go back in, or somebody will go back in afterwards, even if it's been a couple of weeks or something like that, and just put a little cap on the thread of like, we reached out to the customer, it's been resolved, build number 675 resolved the issue, everything's good now. And then if somebody comes across that thread, 6 months down the road or something, because they're searching on a similar issue, they'll be able to see that, oh, something happened and it got resolved, and maybe I just need to update my software or something along those lines.
Yeah, which is definitely really helpful instead of just going to the dead end.
Yeah, I hate. Yeah. I mean, so my former life as a developer, I think it really taught me that there's nothing more frustrating than just a thread dying.
So talking about connecting community members with team members, so what metrics do you track?
Well, unfortunately, my hands are a little bit tied there in terms of being able to really conveniently marry our customer data contained in our CRM with the data that I'm getting out of the community. Now, that's probably a reasonably unique problem to me. I'm sure there's a bunch of other community builders that are running similar types of communities that don't have that issue, in which case I'm very jealous and very happy for them at the same time. But because of those internal barriers that I have, it's a bit of a manual process. 100% not scalable, but thankfully I'm running a small community, so I haven't run into scale issues that way. But it's really just come down to me knowing the members in the community, knowing who is, a high profile customer, a customer that we're really trying to build a relationship with, continue a relationship with. And then when I'm seeing questions, comments, activity from those people pop up, I will reach out personally to our account team just to let them know, hey, these conversations are happening. You might want to go in and take a look and help out. So 100% not the way, really anybody should be doing it. 100% not scalable. If we were a significantly larger community, there's no, like, that would be a full-time job for possibly multiple people. But that's currently the situation I'm in, and that's how I'm unfortunately having to do it.
So you've told that to reach this goal, you go to your team members, you build relationship with them, you do a little bit of, let's say, good manipulation. And is there ever an end to this goal?
I would like to think that there would be, where you would eventually really get those people on board, and them just incorporating that, checking in with the community as just part of one of their daily tasks, no different than checking your email, for example. I have not hit that yet. So maybe that's, a place I'm never going to be able to get to. I have noticed that with some people, they have become more diligent in making sure they're checking in and providing content and stuff like that, which is great. Other people seem to be, really good for a couple of months, and then it starts to drift away. And then I need to go in and give them a little poke. Hey, remember that community thing we got? And then it's like, oh yeah, right. Yeah, sorry. No, some big project came up and I got sidetracked. And then they pick back up again for a couple of months. And then they start to drift off. And then I got to go give them a little poke and then, that type of thing. So, I mean, maybe that's what the end reality of this will always be. I think it's one of those things, us as community folks, recognizing the bubble that we live in, that we love being in the community. In some cases, it's even a case of we're paid to be in the community. So it's all we're thinking about. And we need to remember that other people aren't in our bubble. They do have a different job title, a different job description, a different set of expectations. They're not necessarily thinking community full-time the way I'm thinking community full-time. And, I guess I just, part of my job is going around and poking people from time to time to get them back in there.
What are the additional goals you are working on?
We've rolled out a program. We actually rolled it out about a year ago. So we're at our 1 year completion mark, or 1 year anniversary of this program of launching very specific content in the community, or publishing very specific content in the community around illustrating professional workflows that have been set up using our product. I've got two goals around that. One is just to continue to make sure that I'm getting those published on a regular basis. I'm trying very hard not to really hold myself to a strict content calendar. I've learned now after doing this for a year that the way that this content is coming in, that it's going to be impossible to say like, okay, I need to publish one every month or something like that, because sometimes it's just not going to happen. And I will drive myself insane if I try and hold myself to a strict content calendar. But what I'm trying to do is more hold myself to, okay, I want to publish like a dozen a year. And if that means I'm publishing 3 in 1 month and then a month and a half goes by without publishing another one, fine, as long as I can, do a dozen in a year or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So goal number 1 is just to keep that tap open and continuing to get those workflows published into our community. But goal number 2 is to get our customers to feel more comfortable providing us with the workflows that they've built for their organizations and sharing those in our community. And that was really the main intention and the main hope when we launched this program a year ago, that this was largely going to be customer fed content. The reality was I've published 13 now, and 2 of them come from our customers. Actually, I haven't even published those 2 yet. We're still waiting on some final approvals on that. But it took me 11 or 12, whatever, of ones that we've done internally before we ever got our first one coming from a customer. And I understand that there's a number of hurdles and concerns that customers may have about sharing this stuff. A lot of people are going to be concerned about whether or not they're sharing IP or giving competitors information that they don't necessarily want to hand out. But I'm hoping that with these 2 that I've now done from this first customer, that I'm going to be able to use that as an illustration of how we can sanitize and cleanse these workflows to make them very generic, and we're not giving away any industry trade secrets or anything like that, and then use that to inspire other customers to start getting involved. So goal number 2 is to get more actual customer built workflows into this. That's really my main focus. It will continue to be, I think, my main focus into 2025.
How do you do it for business?
Well, I had initially set up actually a nice little form that folks could fill out on the community. Hey, do you want to share your own workflow? Fill this form out and we'll get back to you, kind of thing. That's never been used. Probably to no surprise. So the way that we got these 2 was just through actual conversation, like, on a phone call. And it was through kind of hounding as well, regularly asking, hey, do you want to share something? And eventually them finally saying, oh yeah, we've got a couple that we can share. Now, as I'm sure everybody listening to this, certainly anybody with a community builder title knows, is you need to be careful when you're, bugging a member for content. You bug them too much and they leave you. Don't bug them enough, and you'll never, get them to do what you want them to do. So you got to find that right balance and the whole bit. The other thing too is this customer that we got this content from, we've got a really good relationship with, and the contact that I worked with to get this information from is a huge advocate of ours. She's done lots of other work for us to help out, with our marketing team and that whole bit. So really, they were like one of the best choices for doing this the first time through, because they're champions for us, and they want to help. They sit on our community advisory board, which is another angle that I can use to try and get these people involved. So definitely picking the champions first, working with them, wearing them down until they eventually say yes, and then making sure that what I produce is something that they're really super comfortable with. And now I can start to parade that out to other champions, but also other folks as well, so that they start to see that, oh no, I can share this information. And I'm hoping too that there's going to be like a little bit of like a fear of missing out and pride kind of thing that I could be leveraging from our customers on this. Is like, hey, look at these 2 cool workflows that this one customer built. I bet you've built some cool workflows. Don't you want other people to see the cool workflows that you've built? And then they're going to think you're cool too. So we'll see how it goes.
And how's this community goal connected with business goals?
So again, that comes back to this idea of expansion, right? So if we're starting to show off how our tool is being used in real life, in the actual field, the hope is that other customers are going to look at this and go like, oh, we've got a situation that, is either exactly the same or really, really, really similar. You've inspired me now to take your product, develop it in a similar kind of way, and use it in our space. So that's expansion, but then also sales enablement. So I want our sales team to be able to use this library of workflows that we've been putting into the community to take out to prospects and say, look at all these real world examples of people using our product and the benefits that they're getting from it. So expansion, sales enablement, it's all about, we're a corporation. It's all about making the money, right? So
it's one of my favorite approaches in sales: tell, not sell. So basically, I show an example of others and like, hey, others are doing that. Do you want to do this also? Yeah, let's work with us.
And with developing this workflow library in our community, that internally turned into a education play. So our team that's in charge of not only our external facing education material, but also our internal education material, took the work that we were doing in the workflow library and built out an entire sales enablement education program that our sales team is going through now, so that they can learn how to tell these stories better and utilize the content that we're putting into the community for their sales work, which is pretty cool. It was really neat to see how that all worked out. And actually that training has been rolled out not only to the sales team, but also to the whole customer success team, because the company is now looking at the idea that these stories and the way that we're communicating this information really needs to be internalized by anybody who has a customer facing position within the organization and is talking with their customers. We want them to be able to understand how best to tell these stories and have it so that everybody is telling the same story in the same way.
So from what I've heard, that you work with sales team, customer success team, product team, and I'm curious, what other teams are you working with while building a community, and how does the community impact them?
So my focus is not so much with the sales team. I'm here as a resource for them, but it's not a sales focused or marketing focused community, very intentionally so. We want the community to be the place for our existing customers to come and learn more about the product and get excited about using the product in different ways. We don't want to scare any of those people off by, it just becoming another marketing channel. That being said, if prospects want to come to the community, they 100% can. Anybody can join our community. You do not need to be a customer of us to join our community. So if our sales team wants to send a prospect there so that they can learn more about how it works and help those salespeople do that job, fantastic. And I'm happy to be a tool that they can use. And I'm happy to talk with any of those folks as to ways that, I can help support the work that they're doing for sales. But that's not a focus of mine. It's an added benefit. My focus, because we're for our customers, because we're about learning our product better, my focus is working with the product team, with our professional services team, with our customer success team, and with our support team. Those 4 teams within this organization are my primary focus and the people that I work with the most directly. The benefits to them, I think, is all about that ability to have direct conversations with the customers and the ability to eavesdrop and see what our customers are saying. So there's as much opportunity available to see what questions are being asked by our customers, because you start to see, oh, maybe this is a pain point, a feature that we should be considering. This feature that we rolled out, clearly people don't understand the value or understand how to implement it. So do we need to alter our messaging? Do we need to alter our documentation? For the support team, ticket deflection. What's a question? And this is something that I'm asking the support team on a regular basis. What is a ticket that seems to be coming up over and over and over and over again? Can we get that information into the community and start training our customers that before they even go to hit a support ticket, go search in the community? Do that first, then do your ticket. Now, again, unfortunately, due to the constraints that I have with looking at metrics, it's very challenging for me to be able to really directly tie in activity that we're seeing in the community to a reduction in tickets or increase in license expansion, that type of stuff. Right now, it's all kind of fuzzy best guesses. I've explained this to my director and such, and everybody's okay with that for right now. I'm not getting any real pressure as to we need real heavy duty metrics to be able to show that, yeah, we made this post in the community and it led to this much expansion or this reduction in support tickets. So thankfully, I'm not being put on the hook for that. If they were to ever put me on the hook with that, my immediate response is, I can't give you those metrics because I'm not allowed to tie these systems together to marry that data.
Yeah, I feel like it's a huge thing that many community builders are dealing with, that you just cannot connect some data sources and cannot understand what exactly lead to some things. And I know that some companies are not allowing to do that, no matter how hard you ask. But yeah, I feel like the best case scenario is definitely see all these connections and to really understand. But yeah, it's always up to every company. And how do you bring visibility to the overall community impact on business internally?
You maybe rephrase that question, because I'm not sure exactly I'm following what you're asking me.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you report to directors, managers?
Okay.
Like, how do you talk about community benefits that they bring into business?
So it's actually funny. Just a little over a year ago, we were doing some internal examinations, I guess, at different areas of the business to see how we could make things, run better, smoother, that type of stuff. And when it came to examining the department that I fall under, which is training and enablement, that's where the community falls. The main feedback that we got when we did our little presentation was, you need to tell this story better internally. You're doing a really bad job of telling the story of the work that you're doing to the rest of the company. Which was, I think, probably the best feedback we could have gotten, other than, you're doing everything perfectly, don't change a thing. Because it showed that the upper executive team, when they looked at the stuff that we were doing, was saying like, wow, you folks are doing really, really great stuff. Nobody knows about it, and they should. So what we've started doing is myself and the woman who's in charge of all of our training, because we both sit in the same organization or team here in the organization. We leapfrog presentations with each other through our regular weekly all hands meeting that we do. Now, we don't do this weekly. We do it between monthly and quarterly. But 1 month she'll make a presentation to the company explaining or showing what's been going on within our training, what customers have taken training, what customers have completed, that type of stuff. And then the next month I'll go in and I'll show, hey, look, we've got this many customers, this many new customers have joined since the last time I've talked to you. These are the conversations that have been the most active and exciting since the last time I spoke with you. This is the new content that we've published, the new workflows that we've thrown up there. So some of it is an opportunity to show just the activity that's going on in there. Some of it is hopefully an opportunity to continue to promote this idea of our customers are in this space having conversations. This is probably a place that you want to go, even if it's just to read those conversations. But this is a resource for you to see what our customers are saying and doing with our product. But then on top of all that, it's also an opportunity for me to have a bit of a Q&A with the rest of the company. And they can start asking questions. Oh, is this content available to, so-and-so? I want to send it off to them because I think they'd benefit from it. How can I get this person to sign up? How can I, and just even by having that ability for a Q&A with the rest of the company is huge outside of any presentation that I'm doing on metrics and numbers and get excited and rah, and that type of stuff. I'm here, ask me some questions, and they do. That's the coolest thing about doing the presentation for all hands, is that I'd say pretty much every time I get up there and make a presentation, I'll get 5 or 6 questions before my little segment is over. And I welcome those questions. And it's really interesting to see how it almost takes sometimes getting up at an all hands in front of the entire company to get those questions, when those people could just walk up to my desk anytime they want and ask those same questions. But hey, whatever inspires them to ask the question, as long as they're asking the question, they're paying attention, they're getting engaged, they're thinking about it. And ultimately, even if it doesn't happen today or next week or a month from now, the more people are thinking about it, the more they're asking questions, eventually that leads them to actually getting in there and getting engaged.
Yeah, and Pat, I have so many follow-up questions, and I really wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, what is one thing to do right away for someone struggling with identifying their community ROI?
Before I even want to figure out what the ROI is on the community, I need to figure out what the point of the community is. So I think I would even roll that back and say, what is your objective, before you can even determine whether or not you're getting a return on that investment. So if you haven't done so, define your objective, define not your goals, but your mission statement. And once you do that, then I think it's going to be a lot easier to start identifying what makes a return. Like, what can you measure now? Because those measurements, an ROI measurement goes back to that mission statement. If that makes any sense. I think maybe I'm being a little bit abstract on it, but to me, it really just comes down to what's the goal. Just having a community for the sake of having a community is useless.
And what is the pre-step you have to do before creating a mission statement?
You need to talk to, so in my particular case of running a corporate community for customers of the company that I work for, and maybe people would disagree, I went out and talked to the customers and tried to determine what they wanted out of a community, what would be valuable to them, what are they potentially missing from their current experience with working with us. And once I was able to get that information, I was able to figure out what role community could play within the customer experience. And that allowed me to define my lane. Once I defined my lane, it's pretty easy then to come up with a mission statement. And then with that mission statement, I'm able to come back with, okay, here are like my KPIs and my ROIs on that. But before doing any of that, it's talk to the customers, find out what they want, and then build to that.
Totally. And last but not least, name 2 people I should reach out to and talk about community ROI.
Well, seeing as how I've watched other of these podcasts, I came prepared for this one because I knew you were going to ask me it. So I'm going to suggest that if you haven't already done so, because I was actually going to suggest reaching out to our good buddy, Steph Nakano, but you've already talked to her, so you can't reach out to her again, unless you want to do a part 2. Reach out to, if you don't know these folks, certainly get in touch with them because they're both very cool people. Reach out to Jody Meyer, who is the community manager for Juniper Networks, and reach out to Simon Helton, who was the community manager up until recently for a company called Cayuse and now works at 1Password. And they're both very cool people, and they both know a lot about what they're doing, and I think would be able to provide a lot of cool insights.
Will do. And what is the best way to connect with you?
Professionally, probably just, hit me up on LinkedIn, and, if we start chatting and it feels like there's a good relationship building, then maybe we can take it a little bit further and get on each other's socials, but, from a strict professional networking way, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn for sure.
I feel like the next step, maybe if they're in the same city as you are, they can even go and listen to some of the gigs that you are doing as a musician.
For sure. I mean, if there are other people from Ottawa, Canada listening to this, I would love to get an opportunity to meet them, because it feels like I'm kind of alone in a desert here working this job here in this city.
Got it, Pat. Thank you so much for this super valuable conversation and for sharing your amazing experience so openly.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Yurii. It's always great talking with you.
And see you in the community world. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.